up for this evening, you will submit them into the chat so that we can see what you wrote up, any questions that you might have, and maybe if we have time, go over some of the questions in the meeting. And sometimes those questions take us on a tangent, though. So we'll see what we have time for. Um, but to start off for the evening, I guess we can just start with a little icebreaker. Well, first, Kristen, did you have a question that you wanted to touch on first?
So I just want to say I've done my 321, but I filled out the form. My mouse
Oh,
is
I see.
broken, so I can't
Okay.
copy paste right now. But I have
Okay.
it, so I'm happy to share it. We can also touch base on this later. I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time with my personal stuff. But I do have it, and however you want me to, I can just send it if you want at some stage, but I'm not like physically able to get into the chat at this time, but I have it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this can pertain to anybody who's ever wondering if you have your 321 and don't have it ready to put into the chat, or for whatever reason can't put it into the chat, just email it when you can. Or you can, if you're not able to email it right after, once we post the video into the community corner forum, you can post your 321 as a reply. And that goes for if for whatever reason you have to miss a meeting or a Zoom meeting, you will post a 321 in summary into the community corner forum as a reply to whichever week you missed. So we always put what week of the module it is there so you know which one to be looking for if you missed it. So, okay, so it looks like we've got almost everyone here. That's great. So let's start off with an icebreaker, which will do a little bit with your 321 maybe this week, but I was thinking there's a lot of really interesting information when we look back at Maria Montessori's life. And I was thinking that we could go around and maybe you could say something that was surprising to you this week, that maybe you had no idea about Maria Montessori before this week. So we can do the little hand raising emoji, or you can raise your actual hand. You can share something that is from your 321 if you shared something that was kind of surprising or shocking or brand new to you. So let's start with Nick. What would you like to share?
I wanted to mention about the great betrayal of how Montesano basically, promised Maria of kind of a future together and not to marry anyone. And then, nope, men be men. So he said no and decided to marry someone else. And I think that was such an important aspect in her history, just because that allowed her to be more personal and focus more on the educational wise part of her life.
Absolutely. And just especially watching the documentary, for those of you who haven't watched it yet, you can feel how she would have felt at that time and how awful that moment in history was. And I know before I watched the documentary, I would have had no idea that that was going on, and that really impacted uh, the trajectory of her life, her career, all everything. Ashley.
I thought it was really interesting that she like had a son Mario and she couldn't be in his life until he was like 15. I just like
Yeah,
that blowed my mind because like the first part of the childhood is the most important and she wasn't there for that pretty much, and it's just kind of sad. So that really surprised me. I didn't even know she had a son, let alone couldn't be in his life until he was 15. So
and
that was
especially that, yeah, and that one of her biggest discoveries was the most important years are from birth to six, not the university years. And that was the time
yeah.
that she wasn't able to spend with her son. So yeah, uh, just thinking again about how much that impacted what she was discovering and what what added to the depth of her philosophy. And just we notice things that happen in our society and how they impact us, but what happened to her personally, I can imagine just impacted that much more of what she learned, discovered, and just had to experience and keep to herself too. How intense that must have been. Thanks for sharing that, Ashley. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to share that was surprising or amazing? Kristen, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just gonna lower my hand real quick. I mean, there's a lot, so it's hard for me to pick one. But one of the things
Yeah.
that keeps coming up, and this also has to do with one of Terry's videos, talking about the helpers and the ones that like till the soil. And I had always seen Maria Montessori in this kind of like angelic, almost untouchable light. Like she had all the answers because I've only read books. And so when you read the books, you have this voice, like she's the omniscient one and she's telling you these things. And it was kind of, while I value the teaching so much, and I think she's absolutely correct, to like go through her biography and then to actually see like, oh, this person actually had like heartbreak and like in multiple ways. And it just made her so much more human to me. And then I felt really strongly connected to her as not just a human being, but as like as a woman, as a mother. And with all of like in the documentary, like I finished it or finished part one last night, and it was the part where she's getting the kids to say Maria at the same time as like you know she's just giving her son away and she's dealing with all this heartbreak, and then she goes and like these kids aren't greeting her and she's like, wait, what is this? You know, and then she remembers all of their names and then they greet her and it's say Maria, and I literally thought that say Maria, and this is maybe embarrassing, um, was just something that like my school said because I've never worked at another Montessori school, and everything is like, oh, say Maria, say Maria, say Maria, and I was like, okay, like we're gonna say Maria, but now I know why. And I got so choked up, and like even writing about it today in my 321, I'm like, I'm writing, kids are napping, and I'm like just typing away and getting very, very emotional. But yeah, it was surprising that yeah, that affected me a lot in a good way.
Yeah. And I was noticing that too. And I think one of the discussions that you had mentioned some of those things too about just how it did shift your image of her as seeing her as this entity, and now she was a person, and she did feel all of these feelings and emotions and went through this grief process and did it silently and went on this journey alone and and came out of it uh, with all of these things that we are still using over 100 years later, and just how fascinating that is too, and how ahead of her time she was, and to think maybe how differently things would have turned out if she had just gone on her way with her son and continued on as just being a mother in her own time and place. And maybe it allowed her to put that much more into her work because that's where she needed to put that emotional energy. There's so many things to consider when we think about her.
I agree with that so much, like where she needed to put her emotional energy, and she put it instead of like being bitter and feeling betrayed and being depressed, she put it furthermore into love that could maybe she couldn't love her son in that way at that particular time or like affect his life in a personal way at that time, but she could affect children and children across the world. And she yeah, about to get choked up
Yeah.
again.
And I think also realizing how important love is and the connections, and when she was not able to have that in her own life, just recognizing how important it is to all these children and giving it to these children who they might not be getting it. And knowing that her son wasn't getting it from her, but she was available to these children. And yes, just so many components. Kaylee.
Well, at the end, you kind of said what I was going to say, which it all
Mhm.
goes together. But I think it is, the true message of, we want to see someone, so confident and, oh, they've probably never gone through this, and this. But it's really, you can't cast that judgment because you really don't know what brought them here. And it is beautiful to see that she did take what happened to her and put it, more of that power and did boost herself up and gave to others versus letting that overcome her and letting that be her story of just pain and suffering. And I think, we can all probably see that in ourselves. And I think seeing that really, kind of put two and two together of, oh, now I know why I've always been drawn to her because she's a powerful woman that, took hardship and made it into so much beauty and benefiting other people. And I thought that was really, really great. So yeah, everything that you all were saying, but I just find it really empowering and just makes me love it even more.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It really does. It does shift your perspective a little bit when you do see that the human piece of it, and it makes you feel for her, and it makes you want to share her message even more, and to share your love with the children, and to share your respect. And because, as she said, that they are the future. They are going to be the adults in a few years, and right now they are children. And but that doesn't mean that they're less than. It just means that they need they have things to learn. So. All right, thank you. Anybody else have anything that they wanted to share? Yeah, Sherry. And welcome back from residency,
Hi,
Tara. Good to
yeah,
see
this is
you.
my first Zoom since I was at residency. So I'm brand new to Montessori completely. I actually started my Montessori class on Monday. But I'm in
Oh,
summer camp,
wow.
so we're not officially doing Montessori yet. We kind of just get a summer off of Montessori stuff with the teachers. So I've been in the classroom and been able to see all the materials for the first time, which is kind of nice because I was at residency, so I saw what to expect. And now I get to
Hmm.
like see that I actually have it in the classroom, which is really great. And I've been teaching for 15 years, not in
Okay.
Montessori. So I have good experience, but I always heard the name Maria Montessori. And you learn it for one little chapter in an education book in college, but you never get a deep dive. And so watching the movie, I saw that deep dive and I'm like, wow, everything still connects to today. Like literally 200 years later, everything's still the same. The way men and women treated each other and professors treated women and just all the connections. It's crazy to see the connections now. And she knew what she was doing 200 years ago. So yeah.
And it is fascinating too, and that you bring that up because a lot of things that were previously discredited, and it was mentioned in it's the slideshow where it talks about how the Montessori method became very prominent in the United States in like the 19 teens. And
Hmm.
then William Kilpatrick wrote a very long article kind of discrediting what she was doing and just saying it was very sterile and the materials that wasn't necessarily what children needed, and they needed different relationships with the adults. And he was kind of just seeing it from the material standpoint and not seeing it from the philosophical standpoint. And when we go back, there are so many people now studying psychology and sociology, and recognizing the importance of what she was doing in the classroom, not necessarily what the materials were providing. And that's what a lot of people at the time were only seeing, and not seeing that you do need a prepared adult in the classroom in addition to the prepared environment. And you need
Hmm.
somebody who is using observation to recognize what the children are needing and to be able to meet those needs from that. And now people are going back, or I guess coming full circle and recognizing, yes, what she was doing was important. And there are so many things that she was doing then that we can still use now. And they have actually gone back and looked at her materials, and a lot of people realize how important those the sensory aspects are of the materials that are mostly used in the 3 to 6 environment, but that they are important and helpful and useful for the children. But thank you for sharing that, Sherry. And I was actually thinking, because we didn't get to our breakout rooms last week, that what you said was a great segue into what my breakout room question is for tonight, because you said you got one chapter on Maria Montessori in college and that was it. And so for the breakout room question that I did have tonight, so this will give everyone some great things to ponder. Let me see. Okay, you put it in the chat. Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to open some breakout rooms, and
I've got the breakout rooms ready. I'm good.
oh, you were able to do
I
them.
was. I had a little technical difficulty, everyone, so we weren't sure
Awesome.
to do it. So I'm ready to roll.
Okay, so then I will not set up any breakout rooms, but I will read the question to everyone just in case some people are on a device where they can't see the chat. The question was, although it is changing, in most university classes about early childhood education, Montessori has often only received a one-sentence mention or one chapter. What factors in Maria Montessori's life may have affected her decision to keep her Montessori trainings outside of the university systems? Do you think that continues to have an impact today? So this, some of you may know more information about this than others, and some might just have some opinions or thoughts about it, but the breakout rooms are a wonderful place to just share the thoughts that you have on this. And then what we typically do with the breakout rooms, you'll go in there for maybe about 15 minutes or so, have your discussion, and then when you come back, you'll have somebody who can be kind of like a spokesperson for your group that can share the general ideas of what you discussed. Unless someone feels strongly about something and wants to just personally share it, what they were thinking about it, you're welcome to do that. We love to hear everybody's thoughts and ideas on this. It really adds to what we learn. And Lisa and I learned so much too from all of you and what you're thinking about in these. So with that, we will open up the breakout rooms. I guess we'll do about 15 minutes, Lisa. And then we close up the rooms after 15 minutes and we'll all come back here as a big group and share.
Okay, so we're going to get started.
All right, see you soon.
Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
in our breakout sessions, I was just talking very quickly about residency. And since a bunch of them are going to Nashville or wherever they're going, I just want to let anyone know that if anyone has any questions about residency, I'm happy to like answer any questions, or if anyone wants to like stay on the Zoom, because just as I know it's a lot and I got thrown into it very fast, some of you know. So if anyone has any questions about residency, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sherry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
you really literally did get thrown right into
I got
not
I
having.
got thrown in, yeah, very fast. But I'm happy to answer any questions about transportation, where to stay, like food, what supplies they truly need to bring. Because Deidre's doing it again, and so my love, I got to meet Deidre and Terry in person, which was so fun for like my throw into it. But yeah, so I'm willing to answer any questions if anyone has anything. I just wanted to say that to everyone.
Yeah, that's really cool that you got to be with Deirdre and Terry.
Yeah.
Can I see hands again? Who is doing July? The residency? Okay, let me see. Did I just see 5 hands
1,
go
2,
up?
3,
6 hands?
4,
Or
5.
do the little hand emoji thing, and then I'll see everybody. So we also know who to not reach out to wondering where you are in class next week. Because sometimes if we don't write this down, we might forget. Okay.
I'm getting it.
Oh, you are. Okay, great. I see 5, and then Jatavia. Boom. Okay, so we've got 7.
Jatavia, I was with your co-teacher, Alicia.
Love her down
Yeah,
boots.
she told me that we were in the same cohort, so we bonded.
Oh,
So
yeah, she's awesome.
yeah, she's great. But she should be finished soon.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was in
Yeah,
Lisa in my last cohort.
yeah, she's
Mm-hmm.
about to take her test. So
Yep,
Yeah, I'm
she
so
is.
yeah,
She's
excited
so
for
close.
her. I can't
yeah,
wait
yeah.
for
So
her to finish.
you can tell her now we officially have met.
Yeah, I'll tell her. Yeah,
Good.
I'm excited.
And Jatavia, you're going to get Kristen's new baby when she joins
Yes.
your class. And Kristen was in Lisa and my first cohort together. And then Kristen and I also worked together for 2 years at Mariposa
Yeah.
Montessori.
When did
Yeah.
Kristen have
Someone
a
else
baby?
too
Kristen's having a baby this month, unless she's already had
in
her baby.
September.
Oh, or
She's due
not
in
this month
September.
at all. September.
And
I
and
didn't
we'll
know that.
have, oh, Kimberly Love.
Yes, she worked at
Yeah.
Mariposa. Yeah, yeah.
The
And Lena's there too.
Lena's next door to my classroom too.
Yep, I worked with
Other
Lena.
things.
I was her IG for a cohort, and yeah, so lot of Athena connections that I
Yes,
have.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, Lisa, did you get everybody?
I did. At least I hope I did.
So we're going to have a much smaller group for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll see everybody back here in 3 weeks together after tonight.
Well, there's
So
actually a flex week, I think, again.
what's that?
There's a flex week again after residency.
Okay, so we'll see everybody in 4 weeks.
I think
Yeah.
so.
All right. Well, there we go. Yeah, summer's the first summer when you start a summer cohort is a little here and there. So, but I'm glad that we're all here for this week together before everybody takes off again. But all right. Well, thank you for sharing that, Sherry. And maybe at the end, we can
Sure.
take just a few minutes if people had questions at the end.
I'm happy to.
We can just stay on for a couple minutes. But let's start with the breakout rooms. I'm sure that you all had some great discussions about just your thoughts on what is going on with the lack of information you find out about Maria Montessori if you studied education or anything like that in a university system or what you've heard about it, and why that might be the case. So do we have any volunteers who just wanted to share any thoughts you might have had on it? Shannon.
Okay, hi. I was volunteered as a spokesperson. So
Okay.
I had a couple thoughts. Well, I just had a thought, couple
Mhm.
thoughts. First thing, if it was her choice, we were kind of confused. Like, was it her choice to keep it out? If it was her choice to keep it away, we thought it was obviously, and I think it was chapter 2, she doesn't speak so highly of the university system. She didn't seem to love it. That was our first thought. And then the second thing being, when it became the education system for Germany and Italy, obviously people came in and tried to change it and make it their way, and it didn't go so well. So if it was her keeping it from the university system, we thought that may be why, because obviously when more people get involved and they change it and make it their own, and we thought maybe she was trying to keep it traditional to what it really is. And then on the other hand, I just had a thought that if it was the universities choosing to not really dive into it, it could be because they don't love the model of the free thinking, or they want to keep it to what they talked about, sort of how traditional schooling looks. Maybe that's why they don't get into it as much as they should.
Those are all great thoughts to ponder. Nick, what do you want to add to that?
I wanted to say about my discussion group. I was with Tiffany
Oh,
and
yeah,
Rebecca.
sure.
If that's
Hmm.
okay, sorry. Um, we going off of like Shannon. We were saying how we were thinking that Maria wanted to keep it her own personal, philosophy and didn't want it to be misunderstood or even simplified her ideas. It's her way. And I had a thought about how maybe she wanted to create her own Montessori programs, to maintain, control over her practices.
And when we think about like what Shannon said, going off of how it became the educational model for Germany and Italy, and right in front of her, she's seeing it getting transformed into
Hmm.
something that she did not agree with. And Lisa and I were talking about that Maria Montessori herself sounds like a very strong-willed person who wasn't going to accept being told that this is the way it's going to be, and we are going to make these children compliant and follow these things. And that's not what she was wanting to happen in her classrooms or her casas. So yeah, thank you for adding that, Nick. And Ashley, what did you want to add to that?
Yeah, first off, I'm sorry I left for a minute. I was having technical difficulties on my laptop, so I switched to my phone. But we were talking about how it's just so expensive, like wooden materials and all of that. Like that's probably why kids are going into more like regular standard schooling instead of the Montessori approach. Like it's very expensive to buy wooden stuff, and it's even very expensive to like, you know, keep that going. So we were just saying how that's probably why Montessori isn't as like, I didn't even know what it was when I first started at my work. Like I didn't even know, and they had to like, it's a whole new language I had to learn, and I had to learn like how to move around the classroom. Like I felt like I was doing everything wrong, but it was just a different way of learning. So yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are surprised by that. And like you said, they don't know about it. And when we don't know or understand things, it might feel different, it might feel threatening, it might feel other. And I think
Right.
that it just like with so many things, that once we learn about it and understand it, then it's not as scary, and that we can
Yeah.
be more accepting of it.
And I was like thinking, like, if I got put in a regular daycare now, I would feel like so triggered by everything they're saying because I would think it's wrong because I'm in
Yeah.
Montessori now. So it's
And
just interesting.
I've only worked in Montessori, and so going
Yeah.
into something different, it's just like, what is happening here? What what are you saying?
Right. Don't say
Um,
no. Redirect them. It's
right.
different.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Ashley. And
Yeah.
Kristen, what did you want to add?
Sorry, I was trying to lower my hand and ended up almost sharing my screen.
Oh,
So it, it's crazy because I've been listening to everybody else now, and I've been trying to like keep this train of thought, but it's hard not to let your mind like wander. The
right.
group has assured me they're going to reel me in. Um, so we were discussing the differences of like, why is it just a mention or two at most, and would she have wanted it? I wasn't really sure if that was a choice or not, as I think Shannon said. And it's two things. So on one hand, you want it to be as widely available as possible, but at the same token, you do want it to be intentional and also available to people that don't just have the money to go to university, don't fit the criteria to go, don't have necessarily the grades or the SAT scores or the scholarships or that kind of thing. So everybody can do it. It makes it much more widely available, like her going to India and teaching about this. And then the other point that was made up was about the materials and how would that pan out, because adults are just it's future children. And so would it not make more sense to let this be something that an individual really sought out, based on their own desires and connection and like instinct almost, maybe? I don't know. Like, I feel like that's too big of a word for it, but then to be like, okay, here's a list of courses that you could take, and you click this one, this one, this one, and that way it becomes way more intentional. And I feel like that's the nuts and bolts of our breakout group. You guys call me out if I missed anything, or if yeah.
Doesn't look like you're being called out. So I think that touched upon everything. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I was recognizing too, there were 5 groups. I don't know which group has not had a chance to share their thoughts. I think that was 4, or was that 5?
I'm kind of lost too. I have to apologize. I was looking in the chat. There was some interesting things going on in there too. I think we have everyone. Did we? If you didn't, if your group wasn't recognized, go ahead and raise your hand and we can talk on that. We also had Tiffany shared something in the chat that I thought about this as well. So we can go there as well. I see.
Okay. And Jatavia raised her hand.
Perfect.
Are you sharing for your group or just adding additional thoughts?
I volunteered as tribute to be the spokesperson.
Okay.
Because the 3 of us are not talkers, but I was like, I'll talk. So I kind of like piggyback from what Nicholas was saying, like how like she wanted for it to be like personable, and like how she went to India and she like trained a lot of teachers, and I feel like she didn't want to have like the universities like misinterpret like her findings, and she wanted to be like as authentic as possible when it came to her studies. And I think that was just maybe like what I thought about, like why she kind of refrained from having her works in university, even though like there are major authors who wrote about child development, and they get a lot of her methods like and her teachings into their studies, like Eric Erickson and all the other 2, Sigmund and all them, like they play a big role in child development. So it's kind of in a way like they had their own interpretations as well, but I feel like she just wanted to make sure like if you're gonna spread my teachings, I want to teach you like from me myself. So I want to make sure you pass down like my legacy that it's like from myself, and not just telephone down the line type of thing.
Absolutely. So oh, thank you for sharing that. And Lisa, were you going to share from the chat, or was there additional information from the chat? Oh, let's see. If I ask you to unmute, will it unmute? Technical difficulties. Okay.
There we
go. Oh, there you are.
There we go. Don't know what happened. It froze for a second. Yes, I will share from the chat that Tiffany. Yes, Tiffany.
Okay.
I think that Montessori's training is not taught in university today, mostly because of how vastly it differs from our traditional schools today. To incorporate Montessori practice in traditional schools, we would need a complete overhaul of the system. I don't see that happening anytime soon, so it is not seen as practical for future teachers to learn because they will not be able to use it in the system we have today. I wonder if Montessori taught outside of the university system, because you do not necessarily need to be a university student in order to become a guide in one of her classrooms. Also, it helped her keep control, as we've been talking about, helped her keep control of what was being taught, ensuring that students were learning the correct way to run a Montessori classroom. Thank you for sharing that. Thoughts on that, anyone?
I was just noticing something else went up into the chat too. Ashley, that's yours that you just sent?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
me. Did my name show up or no?
It just says iPhone. I just want to make sure it was recorded because if we turn it off in the chat, it'll just say iPhone, and then just want to make sure
Yes, that's me. That's
have it
me.
recorded.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
All
you.
right. And she was inclusive in keeping the integrity of her work. So going back to what I was mentioning earlier too about William Kirkpatrick, Kilpatrick, is that he was a follower of John Dewey, who was the most prominent educational theorist at the time, the most followed in the United States in the early 1900s. And like I was saying, when you see Montessori from the outside looking in, you might not necessarily be seeing all of the components of it as you're going to learn throughout this training. It is so much more than the materials. And when I meet with parents for the first time, I do a lot of parent-child groups, and the first thing parents ask is, what can I buy for my house? You know, what things can I get? And I work through the parent-child classes, guiding them in the philosophy and the practice. And I let them know you don't need to buy a single thing. It is how we are working with the children, how we are watching the children, how we are responding to the children, and how we are being available, our presence. There's all of these things involved, and we sit together in a group and they see how I interact with the children and I see how they interact with the children. They'll ask questions about things, and then they do discover, oh, I don't need to go out and buy all of these things. It's what I'm doing with my child and how I'm seeing my child. And it's so different and so much more. And especially with infants and toddlers, much more so than we might see in 3 to 6, because the materials are so much more visible in those environments because they are very specific, a pink tower or the broad stair or the numerical rods. There are things that we see in those 3 to 6 environments that we don't see in infant toddler environments because we are working on different skills and mainly practical life skills and showing the children things that we do in groups while we are guiding them in their own development. And from the outside, it's not something that is visible. And so when those educational theorists were seeing it 100+ years ago, they weren't recognizing what Maria Montessori spent decades observing and taking notes on and re-observing and using the scientific method to track that development. And it is really fascinating because she was a scientist, that she was, when we look at how to observe in a classroom, we are using the scientific method. And that's how she approached it, was first scientifically. And then all of the things that happened in her life happened. All of the things outside of her control happened. In addition to her son being removed from her life, she lived through 2 world wars and she was right in the middle of it, being in Europe. So there was a lot that impacted what she did and how she did it. I thought I saw another hand, but it is not up yet. And I'm also seeing that we only have about 5 minutes left. So another great class, great discussions. I'm really glad that you were able to have a lot of great discussions in the breakout rooms. And I think we'll do the universal greeting and then maybe take a couple minutes to talk about the residency for those of you who had some questions. So let's start. our universal greeting. So we'll start with our hands out. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. My wisdom flows from a higher source. I salute that source in you. Let us work together. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us this evening. It was great to have everybody here. And I guess we'll see everybody together in 4 weeks, but we'll see everybody who is not at the July residency for the next 2 weeks together. So, all right, everyone, have a great rest of your evening. And we'll see you on the Moodle. Oh, and happy Friday.